2022 was a bit of a crazy year for me.
Which one?
Right there.
Oh, dope. Oh, maybe it is a rescue.
On the edge of the world.
All right.
Take the heavy bag.
Ryan and Gail are at the bottom. One more rappel. Just hitting over 12 hours. We've still got a fair bit to go. I had a car crash in February that basically put my life on hold for 6 months. And a few months after that incident, a friend of ours, really close friend of mine, died in a car crash. And then in August, me and a couple of buddies went and did this amazing, massive mountaineering climb. And on the way home, after all the celebrations and all the excitement, we got hit by an 18-wheeler and taken out with, more head trauma and a couple of physical injuries as well. None of these were my fault. So for all intents and purposes, I've got some reasons not to be happy. But what I'm going to share with you in this video is how I've managed to maintain a generally positive outlook over the last 12 months. It all starts with a story about a bear. Imagine you're hanging out in the sunshine, you're lying in the grass, you may be reading a book, you're about to nod off and have a nap, and you hear a snap. A twig snaps, you look up in surprise, and there's a freaking bear. And the bear is just barreling down towards you. You freak out, you get up, you're like, oh my God, I need to get out of here, there's a bear. You try to run away, but the bear gets a hold of you, and it takes off one of your hands. Terrible situation. Now imagine the same situation, but instead of a bear, you're lying down, you're relaxing, you hear a snap, you look up, and there's a man. There's a man with an axe running towards you. You panic, you try and run away, he grabs you, you scuffle, he chops your hand off and runs off with your hand. In these two situations, the same end result is that you're missing a hand. But the feelings around those two incidents are probably pretty different. With the bear, you could almost question your own choices for having a nap in an area where there could be bears. Why am I reading a book? Why was I reading a book in an area where there potentially was bears? But with the man, there's this sense of blame and anger and resentment and hatred towards the man who randomly attacked you while you're having a nap. Like, it wouldn't be too irrational for you to sit there every single day waiting for the trial to come. Let's assume they've caught him with your hand. And, you're like ruminating on the day till you get to court and you can put him away. This crazy guy who took away your hand and ruined your life. But it would be odd if you sat there ruminating day after day after day for the trial, and you get to the trial and then there's the bear locked up in a cage and you're about to put the bear away for 6 months or, 5 years or whatever, because it was a crazy bear that took your hand. The bear is a bear, whereas the man has a different feel to it. It has a different story to it. Now, imagine if you find out on the way to the trial that the man actually has a brain tumor, and until recently he was a well-loved professor at a college or a university, and he has a wife, he has 2 kids, and it's just an unfortunate situation where this guy's brain tumor has expanded and it's pressed up on other sides of his brain for him to go crazy and become an axe-wielding hand chopper. Now, what if you found out on the way to your trial with the man that this guy actually, until recently, was a well-loved college professor or university professor, and he had a wife and 2 kids, and we found out that he had a brain tumor that was actually pressing up on other parts of his brain that caused him to go crazy and, grab this axe and start going and chopping people's hands off. Would you feel the same way? Probably not. But even though the circumstances of the situation haven't changed, how we perceive the event has changed. In the first situation, you blame yourself. You really shouldn't have been having a nap in bear country, and it was a little bit silly to be reading or having a nap where there are bears roaming around. In the second situation, you can confidently blame the man. Like, how could someone do that to you? How could someone just run out, chop your hand off, and not care, or even just attack you randomly like that in the first place? And in the third situation, it's like a bit of bad luck. You feel bad for yourself and for the man whose now life is ruined because he's got a brain tumor and he's gone out and ruined your life, but his life, which was seemingly normal before this, was ruined as well. In all 3 versions of this, you're missing a hand. But the moral of the story is that we have a strong influence on how these events affect us day to day. So much of this is perception. It was this story that helped me let go of the resentment towards the guy who crashed his car into mine. I was at a full stop for 3, almost 5 seconds, before this guy drove straight full speed into the back of me because he was just on his phone and not paying attention. I got a concussion from that in February that I still haven't recovered from. If you're anything like me, I replay bad situations like this over and over and over again in my head, trying to think of how things could have been different. I think, okay, what if I had my head positioned in a different way? Maybe I wouldn't have hit bruised my brain so badly. What if I had looked in my rear vision mirror and seen the car coming? Maybe I could have braced. What if this guy had just been paying attention and hadn't been on his phone in the first place? The reality is that the guy in this car is not unlike the bear. He's impossible. He would have been impossible to influence. And so as far as I'm concerned, I need to think about it as an unstoppable thing. I can get mad, I can hate him, I can resent him, but all that does is make my life and the lives of the people around me way more difficult. I'm not saying that what has happened to you isn't tough or that it's, wasn't fair, because this seemingly wasn't fair, but a really strong, powerful quote from Malachi McCourt that helps me get through this is, resentment is like taking a poison and waiting for the other person to die. The more I hold on to this and the more angry I get and the more I think about and stew on how terrible this situation is and how bad this guy is, the more I'm just poisoning my own life and getting angry at other people and grumpy and just becoming someone who I don't want to be. And none of that's even affecting the guy who crashed into me in the first place. This isn't easy and doesn't mean that there shouldn't be consequences for people's actions. That's why we have crime and punishment, to incentivize people to not do bad things, but this isn't about them. This is about you and me and trying to live a better life beyond the shitty things that have happened to us. There's a sense of justice and self-righteousness in being a victim, but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, are you going to carry this around with you and let it affect the people you care about and let it affect your life more than it should? Or are you going to work to let it go? You can't just wake up one morning and be like, I'm over it. You have to work to let it go. And the crazy thing is, though, that it's a choice. This is a choice. You can choose to work on it and choose to get past it, or you can carry it around like a big heavy bag for the rest of your life. I hope that little story helps. I got it originally from Sam Harris in the Waking Up app, and it really helped to shift the way that I think about what's happened in my life and how I can move forward. If you're interested in the Waking Up app, they have free trials that you can go check out. I think it's only like $90 a year anyway. And it's been an amazing resource to help reframe how I look at the world and live a much more fulfilling and happy life.